You're welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Trenton Alumni Chapter Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated's first session of our Get Your House in Order speaker series. My name is Nicole Carmichael, and I am the chairperson of our Economic Development Committee. Our physical, mental, and emotional lives mirror building a home, brick by brick. Tonight's focus will be on the financial component and is titled Building Generational Wealth. We hope that you leave tonight's forum with more information on building your or someone else's financial growth. All of us are a work in progress. Sora Hazel will introduce tonight's speaker.
Thank you, Sora. Kenita Bullock, CFP, MBA, AIF, is president and founder of Master Plan Investment Group based in Pennington, New Jersey. She is a wealth manager and corporate retirement plan advisor. As a wealth manager, Kenita uses customized investment, insurance, and financial planning strategies to help clients maximize their portfolios, achieve their goals, and build generational wealth. In her role as retirement plan advisor, she manages workplace retirement plans such as 401k and 403b plans, bringing her experience to the entire organization. Kenita established Master Plan Investment Group in 2019 with a mission to serve clients by helping them clarify their financial goals, chart a course for success, and live a fulfilled life. She became a certified financial planner, CFP professional, in April of 2020. Currently, only 3.7% of CFP professionals are Black or Latino, and only 23.3% are women. Kenita is committed to improving these statistics. She holds the FINRA Series 7 and 66 securities registrations and holds life insurance, term, permanent, and long-term care and health licenses. Kenita grew up in Lawrenceville, New Jersey, and is a graduate of Lawrence High School. She and her husband, Eric, and their two daughters, Bella and Madison, live here in New Jersey. She's an active member of the Trenton Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, in which she serves on the finance and strategic planning committees. She is a frequent speaker on money management, including retirement income strategies, investing, insurance, long-term care, financial planning, and general financial literacy. We are so excited to have her join us this evening to speak about this important topic, building generational wealth. Please, everyone, join me in welcoming Kenita.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's so exciting to come before everyone again and talk about a topic that I absolutely love and that I know will not only transition and transfer knowledge to you during this session tonight, but it'll create generational change in our community. Even if you feel like you have a great foundation of financial knowledge, you will learn something here today. So my goal is to make sure that not only will you be able to learn something, but there's a seed that will be planted for the next generation, and that will be a sustainable seed, a seed that be watered, that will grow and won't stop with our children or our grandchildren, but will continue for generations to come. So throughout the conversation, I want questions. I don't want to just talk and talk and talk. This is an opportunity for you to learn, for you to take away and ask questions for your cousin, for your children, for your partner that couldn't make it. Because again, it's a community and a village responsibility to take this information and use it to our benefit. So as my bio was read, thank you, Soror. I have been in the industry, and I'll begin sharing. I've been in the industry I see other people coming in. I've been in the industry for over a decade, started in Los Angeles, California, and came back to New Jersey for love. I was engaged in Pasadena and have been here since Eric and I were married in 2010. So now, let's see. There we go. Had a little issue. Let me get the presentation going. There we go. So what we'll do is walk through this presentation, but again, I want to pause for questions. I want to ask that you put questions in the chat because again, I can talk, I can give expertise, but the important piece is action. What are we going to do about that? So my office, as mentioned, is located in Pennington, New Jersey, but we work with clients all over the country, California, South Carolina, Texas, Georgia. I have many licenses in different states, but the one piece of what I do is very common for any of the clients we serve. It's done in excellence, high integrity, accountability, and number one, our goal is to make sure that your goals are met and that we support you in that process. So as you know, I'm a certified financial planner, and those statistics are staggering. Every time I go to a CFP presentation or a conference, it reminds me how much work we have to do in this space. So remind a young lady, a young man that may not have considered a career in financial services to consider that and the journey to become a CFP, a certified financial planner. So just to note a couple of things, things that I have been so grateful for and honored by: receiving national recognition from the Investment News, which is one of the #1 publications, to be 40 under 40, have a few years left, but thankful to be amongst those ranks, as well as a top women advisor by the National Association of Pension Advisors, which is 401k advisors. So a little bit about my firm, and I'm keeping time to make sure we have enough time to go through everything. We really focus on 3 core areas: financial planning, wealth management, investment management, and insurance and long-term care solutions are really for those families. We work with the children, the grandparents, and the children that are coming out of college as well, because we recognize it's not helpful just to inherit assets, but we want you to inherit and begin to plant seeds of education and knowledge so that the next generation will know what to do with those assets. The second piece about kind of what we do is on the business and nonprofit financial services side. So if you have an organization that you lead as a CFO or a CEO, I may come in and help with your 401k as the investment advisor, helping with the investment options, helping you design your plan to make sure it fits your needs as well as the participants' needs. And we really are a partner in this. We make adjustments as the business needs changes. But again, there are not a lot of us in that space. So I really make sure that women-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses have a true advocate for them, and not just someone who says they're an advisor on the plan, but is never present for education and knowledge for the participants. The last piece is, again, one of my passions and why I'm here tonight: financial education and wellness seminars. For example, a company in Pennsylvania and Philly recently hired me to host a series of financial education and planning sessions for their organization. And I come in and we break the team up into groups based on your age group. And the goal is to make sure no one walks away with the feeling that they're overwhelmed with the financial stress that our budgets, our children, our finances bring, and they're able to focus and engage while they're in their place of employment. And we help them do that. So we are going to talk about 3 very important topics. The first is personal wealth. And then we'll discuss building generational wealth. And the last, how do we build sustainable wealth? And you may think, well, isn't generational wealth sustainable wealth? But I want you to think about a few maybe famous or actors or actresses that you know that have worked hard, built their wealth, and when they passed, they may have had a child that was able to sustain that wealth, but the next generation was not as supported or financially sound as the first. So just because you have generational wealth, 1 or 2 generations, doesn't mean it's sustainable. So I want to talk about some sustainable practices too. All right, so this is number 1, some of the basics. Assets minus liabilities equals your net worth. And when we talk about that, it's very common. It's kind of investment or wealth management 101. But I want everyone to take out your phone. I know it's nearby. Open your calculator and do a rough estimate. Don't do real hard math. What is your wealth? What is your net worth? All right. So assets minus liabilities equals your net worth. So if I think about the equity in my home, usually that's one of our primary sources of wealth. And that means your home might be valued at 400,000. You have a mortgage of 300. So that equity might be 100,000. So put that number in. Then look at the cash that you have in your savings accounts, not your checking, because that goes up and down based on your expenses. Okay. Then look at savings and investments. I'll give you some time there. Think about your cars. Any collectible items, artwork, even sneakers. There are really a lot of collectors items that are fashion apparel nowadays. And retirement accounts, which are also considered investment accounts. Now, minus some of these liabilities, your mortgage, your credit card, student loans, car loan, unpaid medical bills. Many of us may have a negative net worth, working towards being a positive, and then working towards being much more significant than just a positive. So when we look at the goal that we're talking through today, it's so that you can focus on increasing that asset column, decreasing that liabilities column, and then understanding what you do, with the common term, the bag, right? You're making this money. What do you do with it to make sure it's generational and sustainable? All right. So a couple of pieces. This won't be your traditional conversation where we talk about, what is a FICO score? What should your credit be? But we're talking about how do we really move the needle? All right. So we're looking at reducing debt, eliminating debt, saving and investing. Cash flow analysis, which is in some cases a budget, and looking at how all of that works together. So I want to talk, and I'll ask for a few volunteers here. I want to talk about our journeys. This is not easy work. The end of the year brings a lot of anxiety about, well, where is my financial picture? What is my financial picture? How much am I spending on the holidays? What is that going to help me do in January? We don't want that to be a conversation that stresses us in this community. So we need to be honest and talk through how do we move that concern and focus on really moving the needle and building not just only generational wealth, but sustainable generational wealth. So if someone on the call would mind sharing a bit about how they reduced or eliminated their debt. This is a vulnerable space here. I get it. But I know there's one or two success stories. And again, we are learning from each other. I don't mind sharing. I can't see the room, so.
Okay. I don't know if I see any hands up.
Okay.
Possibly they may want to put it in the chat.
Okay, that's an option as well. Please put your name in the chat, put it in the chat so we can unmute you. But this is where it starts. If we're not open to helping someone else and sharing our story, then we're all living in pain. I know there are people on here that are in debt. But if we can't say, I need help, then we're kind of covering and masking the situation. But it starts with debt. So if you're able to organize thank you, Sora Richardson. Do you mind taking Sora Richardson off mute and just allowing her to share briefly about her journey to reduce or eliminate her debt?
I think she's off mute.
Okay. Please share, Soror. Oops. I can't hear you. Okay. Well, we'll wait for someone else to come off mute. But the point is, we want to make sure we're sharing with one another and able to learn and share our journey so someone else can be helped. Okay.
Hi, can you all hear me? Hi. Honestly, I have to be very honest, how I got out of debt, it's crazy, but I actually got laid off from a job, got a severance package, and a very generous severance package. and was able to secure a new job, making more money like 3 months later. But literally, from there, I was able to pay off. I wasn't in severe debt, but I was able to pay things off. And I actually was able to establish from that point on a baseline of a savings and begin saving and also begin investing and whatnot. It actually was the best thing that ever happened to me was getting laid off from that job. But before that, I mean, I have to say that I was saving, but not saving enough so that if I did find myself in a bad situation, that I would have been okay. But I was always able to keep myself even, not necessarily in debt, but not necessarily saving enough. But after that situation, I was actually able to establish a baseline, as I said, and begin to save. And as I got in other jobs and making better money, and even times when I was not making as much money, I was in such a place where I had built that cushion so that I was okay and could still find ways to save. And I also do a thing where I do automatic savings. I have like 3 different savings
Excellent.
accounts where money comes out automatically. I don't see it. And that's just kind of the way I did it. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. And she shared a lot, right? I can talk to you about this all day, but when you think of the struggle, I enjoy shopping or I'm helping family. I struggle with setting boundaries financially for myself, for others. That's work. So it's
Sorry,
not a
Sorry, Kanita, there are 2 questions in the
sure.
chat. Yes, the first,
Okay.
well, not questions, statements. One from Sheena. Start with small debts and increase the amount you pay as you can.
Right.
And the second one is from Janelle. Cut back on eating out, negotiated salary increase.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Soros. And when you think about those 2 comments in the chat, those are things that some are things you can control. You can start paying off debts. Some are things you can't control. You can negotiate for the salary, but you may not receive it, but still there are actions that you can take. So we don't want to be concerned about what if I don't get the increase. There's still work that we can start on and do. So building the emergency fund is one point that was made, and that is key. Even if you're working on paying off smaller debts, like Sheena mentioned, you still have to have emergency fund. You still have to have some level of savings that you're also increasing over time. So if you're working on paying off debt and something goes wrong with the car, or there's some large expense that you didn't anticipate, where will you get the money? You'll either go back to the credit card or some form of debt, maybe ask for a personal loan, see if your emergency fund is sufficient to cover that. But remember, things will happen. So if we don't focus on an emergency fund, and that number tends to be 3 to 6 months of your required kind of fixed expenses. But there's some people who say, I want a year, which is a lot of cash. So we talk about different strategies. But the point is, you want to start somewhere, $25 a week, $25 a month, something, so that you can have a small nest egg that will one day be a sufficient nest egg for you. Insurance is another component we'll talk a bit about. Retirement or succession planning for those business owners out there. Gifting and education saving strategies. So that is a big piece regarding the wealth creation opportunity. Education savings means that there are young people who don't have to graduate with a burden on their shoulders because the generations before have been able to save or they've received academic scholarships. And we'll talk about that too. And one of my favorite is real estate ownership and ways of earning passive income. And you may think of rental properties. Should I buy my first home? And if I do, should it be a duplex or another type of property? And those are all great questions because a single family home means one single family is paying that mortgage. But if you were to buy a duplex as your starter home, that other property will pay a significant portion of your mortgage. And as you graduate or your family grows, that can be a legacy building tool to generate income as you go into another single family home or possibly another duplex. So I want to pause there. I see a couple of notes in the chat. Are there any questions?
Yeah, it's just made a statement that she eats out, and it kind of eating out is where I spend the bulk of my money.
Mhm. Yes, and it's tough. We'll talk about in a moment just some cash management strategies too. So the reason this is all important is because if you try to, just using as an example, try to curb your budget to eat out without a goal in mind, what is going to make you say no or make you defrost the chicken before you leave work or put it in the fridge so that you don't have to eat out? It's going to be hard. So I'm a huge proponent in vision. So what am I working towards? Whether that's 1,000 in my savings account or buying another property every year, my goal is to save X amount of dollars. So if I can say this is worth it, I'm more likely to sacrifice. But if I say it's just because all the financial gurus say this is what I should do, I don't think that that it's very compelling. So you have to have your true why. You have to know why you're doing this and have that be the core to help you change your habits, because it's not easy. So when we think about investing and building a legacy, we're thinking about what's your purpose in life? What is the legacy that you want to live in? It's not always cash and investments. How do you plan to take care of loved ones? If you plan to take care of loved ones, many people are yearning for organization and wanting to be in control of their money. They feel like their money's controlling them. And these are really 4 key pillars of talking through wealth management. We help with the managing of the money, but all of that is to fulfill and cover the top 3: achieving your goals, peace of mind, and fulfillment. So we talked a bit about the budget, eating out, expenses like that. And I love that people are being vulnerable. So if it's eating out for you, it may be shopping for another. It may be shopping for grandchildren because my children are out of the house for someone else. It may just be, I don't know where my money goes. It just goes. So what I encourage everyone to do is take a quick picture of this slide. I like mint.com. It's a pretty good budgeting app. And I'm a fan of pen and paper, keep a journal, a money journal as well. But you need to start writing what's coming in, what's going out, and some options for you when you are struggling on that eating out. Fund money, for example, it's a 60-20-20 rule, and we'll talk about what that means. But there's a portion of your money, which is 20%, that should be earmarked for savings. So if you start there, then you can work your way down and figure out how much should you earmark or allocate for those other expenses. Okay, what are some other, and if we can get 2 examples, other websites or strategies that people use to keep up to date with their cash flow? Some people I know do a budget every month. I do not do that. But what are some people doing?
We do have one question.
Okay.
What is your opinion of using intro lower rate credit cards, 18 months or greater, to pay off debt?
So when we think about that, I'm assuming you're talking about the cards that maybe 0% for 12 months. And then you have a very high rate after the 12 month. So if you transfer debt to that card, you have to have a very clear plan to pay off the debt, or know that what you can pay off in that 12-month period will be enough to then give you another 6 months or whatever time period to pay off the rest. But don't go into those options without a plan, because usually those rates are at least 20%. And they're brutal. They're very high and unforgiving. And it's hard after you have a 20% interest rate every year. It's hard to get from under that debt. Rocket Money, or a few notes in the comments. Truebill. I haven't heard of Truebill, so I have to look up that one. Mint, I've heard of that, and I know a lot of people use that. So good sharing. Thank you for putting those comments in. So this is the piece that I was talking about before, 60-20-20. So when we think about fun stuff, and some people say gross, some people say net, but if you just use net, what actually comes into your bank account? Let's take a look at what you're spending. And I love the option of putting money in savings before it even gets to your checking account when you get paid every week or every other week or month, however you get paid. And why does that help? You don't have to physically do any movement or transfers, and it's automatic. You can almost set it and forget it. And as you advance, you're not only going to put money in that savings account, but then you're going to have a portion of it go to your investment account, because those small amounts add up over time. And it's not only in the bank, but when it's invested. All right. So this highlights just investing in a retirement account. So if you say, oh, my 20%, I'm going to invest 2% of that, and then maybe try 3%, but you have to figure out what's the right amount, and it'll take sacrifice. But I know with support and having a team of other people that are working on this too, you can do it. So the reason I stop here is because the market is not the best right now. I have calls after calls. I had a call just now just about the market, and people are concerned. But when I look at when most people wanted to invest, it was during this euphoric time. The market was up, everyone was making money, and Bitcoin was the number one conversation people wanted to have. But when you look at diversification, simple way of saying don't put all your eggs in one basket, invest in different types of companies and investment vehicles. That's very important. That's going to help you as we go through a cycle, and cycles will happen. This won't be the last at all. Everyone's different. Every cycle is going to be different, but it's not going to be the last. So this is the time where we should start evaluating how much can we buy or continue to buy like you are doing in some of your retirement accounts. Okay. So before we jump in here, I wanted to pause for any questions that people have or in the chat. Okay. So one part of my work in financial planning is helping clients clarify their goals and figure out a plan. So if anyone knows me, I'm a planner, I'm strategic. What time? How do we do this? How much time? So that works in my head every time I hear something or I'm digesting the information. So if I, just using this as an example, I'm working on building my emergency fund. I want to build my travel fund, my miscellaneous bucket, my girls' trips that aren't necessarily my travel budget. Then I want to buy a new date night car. I want to buy another house. I have to put a plan together. And I like ally.com. I have a lot of clients that use Capital One 360. These are all high yield investment accounts because it gives you a bit more interest than your banks do. But that's important because you're maybe saving for some of these goals for a long time. So can I get 2 examples of things that people are saving for right now? So I can use a real life example.
In the chat, I see ally.com, Capital One 360.
Okay, so thank you.
Not sure what that is.
She's saving for the townhouse, right? So that was
okay.
Thank you. Perfect. Wedding, I love it. Apartment, townhouse, excellent. So I talked to a client today. She had been saving for a home, decided to take herself out of the market because things were just so high, but she's been saving every month for her down payment. And we always leave another buffer for unexpected repairs or furniture so that you don't have this beautiful home, unable to live your life as far as traveling, doing what you love. And also, of course, you want to furnish it. So if we say new townhome, we're looking at maybe this section right here. This may not happen next year unless you do get that severance package or you get a big windfall with the tax return or some unexpected income, stock options, depending on where you work. So we want to think about being systematic, maybe boring, but it gets the job done for a down payment for a home. And every month, depending on how much you want to save, you want to have a bucket. And I use ally.com and give all of my accounts nicknames. I have a summer camp account. I have a travel account, an emergency fund account. You may have an apartment account. So every month you're putting a certain amount of money in. Maybe if you get bonuses on certain parts of the year, you put a little extra, but it helps you get to your goal and have a clear timeline of when and how you will get there. One piece that I'm pushing the envelope on is, again, building community within our community. I know other colleagues that bought a townhome or a rental property with a friend. And so if I'm saving, for example, $300,000 beach house, a little far from the beach, maybe Delaware, I may bring 60 to the table and I have another friend bring, 30 to the table and they bring 30 to the table. We have to also try to begin to trust one another. So if there's an opportunity for us together to grow wealth, partnerships are a great option. You want to sustain your friendship, so put things in writing. If anyone has a change of income, you have to sell the house because cash flow changes, or unfortunately a divorce or something takes place. You have to have it in writing what happens so that you continue to be friends. But there are ways to build wealth as a community that other communities often do, but we have to challenge ourselves to do as well. So this is a accumulation phase for those that are further along in their financial journey. So 46 to 65-year-olds, they may be saving for different things and different amounts. So I saw the wedding, say they may be saving for their child's wedding or saving for their grandchildren's college education, but the concept is the same. When I have clients saving for their retirement home in South Carolina, we have the same concept. If I have a client saving for their first home, same concept. How quickly they get there may be a bit different, but the concepts are the same. Any questions?
There is a question in the chat from Alfred Harris. What is your opinion on investing and buying now because of the low stock market prices? Please give an example if possible.
Thank you. So when you think about that slide I had, which showed the highs and lows of the market, there's another one that I like to show that shows the highs and lows of every year in the market. So you are going to have years of highs and lows, but the point is you need to know why you're investing, how long, so your time frame you have to invest, and then also what's your risk tolerance? Are you an aggressive investor? Are you a conservative investor? And when you think about the low market, the market can go lower. So it's not as if we can time it, come in and out. So I like to do what's called dollar cost averaging, meaning every month you're buying into the market. So you bought at a high, you bought at a low, you bought if it's even lower. And you think about diversification, start with an S&P 500 index or something that's going to give you a number of industries. So not just energy, not just technology, but a number of industries. So mutual fund or an ETF or types of funds that have many different investments in them. And then on top of that, invest in what you know. So I always like to use a story, a friend, well, not a friend now, but a client, they have 2 young children, or now 3, and their daughter, she was 8 at the time, was in school, and I asked her, what do you want to invest in? And she said, I'm not sure, I don't know. And we asked, well, what are you doing at school? What kind of brands do you like? What do you like to wear? And she said Adidas. And this was at least 5 years ago. So her Adidas stock is doing very well. Now all we see is Adidas. But the point is, when we build generational wealth and when we're investing at, like you mentioned, sir, lows of the market, you do want to invest in what you know, because it could go lower, but you have to have a commitment that this is a good company. This is a good stock. Okay. So for those that have children, this is a no-brainer. Who doesn't want their child to flourish? But if you don't have children, you have a community, whether it's cousins, nieces, nephews, a community of individuals that you mentor. Everyone has a legacy. And the point is, when we think outside of just our family, then we can really accelerate on this topic, building generational wealth. So I know that many of you always start off with, how can I get my children to pay attention to this and to save? You have to invest and allow them to invest on their terms. What do they want to buy? But financial knowledge is much more important than inheriting assets, money, because I've seen clients have accounts that their children inherit, and in a few years, the money's gone. Very little to show for it. Because what they've omitted is the instilling, just as you say, be kind to others, watch your money. Invest, learn more about how to invest. Don't be afraid to take risks. I was laughing at Bella the other day. She said, no risk, no reward. I said, absolutely right. So you have to think about, what are you instilling now at whatever age your child is? And I know now as a mother, it's hard when you want to give and give more than you had. But if you omit the conversation about working hard, making wise decisions, and you make mistakes, everyone does, and sharing those mistakes, not just to turn off the lights, but why do I need to turn off the lights? If we forget to talk through those things, we are missing the ball. And you may have multiple houses, and I've seen it happen. Each one is sold because someone doesn't pay the taxes. All right. Healthy money habits, real estate, 529, education planning, UTMAs are uniform trust to minor accounts or custodial accounts. And I like these because we can buy stocks for children, mutual funds for children, and let them choose. Let them see how their stock goes up and down, because you're teaching them how to pay attention, what news to listen to, what not to listen to. And hopefully they'll have a higher level of knowledge, and that will just continue to grow with every generation. Brokerage accounts. So something important about brokerage accounts, and we have a tax expert next week, and Dr. Keel's on the call. When you have a brokerage account, I have a client that has a bunch of Apple stock, and we've earmarked that stock for an inheritance. So that means they bought the stock, maybe a very low price, but it's grown so much that they know their capital gains, their taxes, will be very high. So they've earmarked that this holding will be for when they pass, and they'll give it to their children, grandchildren, and they'll get what's called a step up. So it's almost as if the next generation bought the stock the day that the grandparent or the other family member passed. So they're paying literally no taxes if they sold it right away. So brokerage accounts are different than Roth IRAs, but they have great tax benefits that you should definitely talk with your tax specialist about. Another piece I want to talk through with the Roth IRA, anyone that has children, anyone that loves a child that's working somewhere with earned income, have them open a Roth IRA and consider, even for them, putting money in. We'll talk about the amounts soon, but putting money in that account, because that's going to be growing tax-free. And when they're ready to use it, it's also tax-free. As always, there's more details, but that's a very important strategy that we don't do enough. So the moment they work at, I don't know, the corner store, I did babysitting for a while. So the corner store, the shoe store, Chick-fil-A, whatever it is, you can put in money for them as long as it's earned income. So savings bonds, yes, no, some questions about that. When I think about savings bonds, I always look at the rates. So often CDs kind of are more competitive than savings bonds. And again, I look at how long until the child will need the money. And if it's not for some time, buy a mutual fund or buy some type of diversified investment, because I'm sure the yield and the growth will be higher, especially because rates are so low. Let's see. Okay. If a child is working, you can open IRA. Correct. It doesn't matter the age. You can be a child model and have a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA, but the point is it has to be earned income, reported income. So if you're a business owner, your child comes in the summertime, helps out with stuff in envelopes or social media, pay them and allow them to have a Roth or a traditional IRA. So we are now kind of getting to the next stage here. We're talking about estate planning, ongoing tax planning, philanthropic giving, donor advised funds. So as your wealth accumulates, and it may not be in your lifetime, but you're planting seeds. These are ways that we build tax strategies to continue to manage your wealth and still gift to causes that are important to you, as opposed to only giving what is due to the IRS. You can manage donor giving and funds that you control, saying, I want to give to this community for this reason, have the tax benefit, and also dictate how it's used. Want to stop there for any other questions?
Yes, can we go back to two questions? I think I see one. Is it possible to change the course of your financial situation if you're older and nearing retirement age, and that came from Monica Kelly.
Okay. So when you think about the ability to change, the answer is always yes, but it's just going to take some real commitment. And often if you think of who you spend time with, if they're spenders, then it's going to be hard for you not to spend. So we really have to think about challenging ourselves and saying, do I really want to change? And if I do, how might I need to change what my habits are and who I spend time with? Because they're going to make it hard. So the idea is that you may say, I'm committed to this goal, and make it achievable. Don't create a goal that really is very challenging to achieve and it will just discourage you. Start small. What's my 30-day goal? What's my 60-day goal? What's my 90-day? But it's not too late. It's never too late to turn things around. And I like now the option to sell things, the secondary market, those things in your closet that aren't being used, things in your garage that are still in the box. Ask someone to help you put it online to sell. I always go to Facebook Marketplace first before I buy anything. So just think about how can you also generate some income from things you're not even using.
And Gary Hill just made the statement that instead of giving toys at Christmas, to give the kids or the grandkids a lump sum of stock.
Yes, yes. So you can open up a custodial account, and a UTMA is Uniform Trust to Minors account. So that's also a great option. And buy things they like. Okay, you want this type of toy, or you like this brand. Let's buy that in your portfolio. But continue to make sure you're diversified too, because the single stock has more risk, and you don't want the entire bulk of the funds to be in just one company. You do want to diversify. But great idea. All right. So when we think about, again, generational wealth, retirement planning is very important. Where are you retiring? And I'm looking forward to it because it's a journey. It's exciting. I want to live here, and I maybe will visit Bella and Maddie there, but bring some excitement into your retirement plan. And if it's not exciting, then call me because it should be. When you think about waiting to travel, that's not the plan. We don't want you to do that. Enjoy your life now, but also have a plan for later. And that is a part of the way you want to think and how your actions have to follow. So what you're saving, how much you're saving. And we're blessed in this area. There are a lot of people that have pensions or passive income with rental properties. Even if you have a property manager that may take over as you begin to age or may not want to be a landlord anymore, consider having your child be the property manager and pay him or her. But you're teaching them what it takes to sustain this property, and that it may not be as easy as it looks, but they see the benefit, the constant income over time. So Dr. Hill is going to talk a bit more about this next week as well. But when we think through what makes the big difference, Kenita, where do you see what differentiates one family's generational plan from the next? And it really is, how do they use their retirement plans? Because it's a very substantial tax benefit depending on what you use. So we already said, let's see, I think you get working papers at 14, 15 or something. So your 15-year-old can have a Roth IRA from their earned income, but they can also have a UTMA from birth or 529 from birth for college. But these are other retirement plans that allow you to put a lot of money away and build your more than nest egg in retirement. We talked a bit about the young 30, 40, 50, 60-year-olds, but when you begin to enter your true retirement stage, your distribution stage, there's a very different way that you want to think about planning. Estate plans are essential. And it breaks my heart every time we hear of a famous person that didn't have a will and their family paid so much in taxes because they just failed to plan. Family wealth management meetings. So these are really fun. Family dynamics. If you think about what conversation did you have at Thanksgiving? Now add some money to that conversation. How peaceful is it then? So when you think about having those conversations with grief on top of that, it is not a very pretty sight in many cases. So if you can put a plan together and have these conversations and meetings before the inevitable happens, we will all leave this earth one day. Then you're only helping and reducing the concern, the grief, the stress, the worry of usually the most financially responsible person in your family to manage everything. It's okay to do it. It doesn't mean that you're passing sooner than you would normally. God has a plan for us all. So the idea is that you put the plan that you want in place so that no one else dictates what that plan is. So security, pensions, and annuities are all income sources, passive income, royalties. A lot of individuals have books and other businesses. Of course, your investments are also a part of that. And when we think about overall the specific stage that you're in and these needs, they're key on the far right: estate planning, family wealth management and meetings, long-term care, gifting, charitable planning, and finally legacy planning. So this is my goal: sustainable wealth. And it's not just about each of my children will inherit a house, which is one of my goals, but you want to have them to inherit real estate, them to inherit businesses, them to inherit trust accounts, them to inherit the protection of your assets, so they're not spending down your assets to pay for your care. But all of this takes a plan. And don't be stressed that this has to happen in your lifetime. We want to educate the next generation. So Bella and Maddie will have irrevocable trust for their children if I don't get it for them. And if Eric and I can't build businesses that are sustainable for generations, and they will. But the point is, you can't fail to talk about it and have it a part of your conversation. So I think there are a number. I challenge you to think of one business, local owned business in town that closed because the father, the mother, matriarch passed away and the children didn't manage the business well. That's a generational business that failed. So the time, the money that's put into some of those businesses need to be sustained with what's our succession. And it doesn't have to be the family. What if Bella or Maddie doesn't want to be in a finance company? They will still own a portion of it and have a voting right. So we want to think differently and not force the next generation to make the choice that we did. Protecting your assets and trust accounts really go hand in hand. Anyone may be familiar with a trust that is irrevocable, meaning it's hard to change it, versus revocable, which means that you have more flexibility in changing it. So I have clients that say, do I need an irrevocable trust because I want to protect my child? They're in the medical field. If they're sued, their patients or whomever sues them can't access their funds. Or if there's a marriage that ends in divorce, these assets are the assets of the child in my bloodline and not those of the other spouse. So there's some really creative ways to protect your assets and build in conversations about family trusts. Are there any questions before we go?
No question, just good comment. They love the webinar.
Oh, thank you.
And let me see the chat. And just for the audience, that the chapter will be hosting a Will's webinar in January.
Perfect. Good. And this is good stuff. Go to these, rewatch it, watch it again, share it with someone, because I can't tell you. And it's not just one community doesn't know it. I have clients from all backgrounds, and there's a big deficiency in financial education in our country. Mm-hmm. And we assume other people know. There might be communities that are very intentional about making sure this knowledge is shared, but a lot of us don't know. So share it even if you think they know already. So
we do have something, I'm sorry. Can you explain the benefits of investing your yearly raise and maintaining your budget?
Oh, okay. So some people get a annual increase in their income. And one way of building your wealth and even paying off debt and increasing your savings is to continue to live off of that base income that you had last year and invest the difference. So if you had, for example, a 3% raise this year, Pretend like you never received the 3%. And I say, contribute to your 401k plan if you have one, and continue increasing that to your max. But don't forget those other strategies. Investing is not the only way to build wealth and have a secure retirement. Rental income, other ventures in other businesses, but do your homework, have a good attorney, of course. But I do like the idea that you're beginning to invest or even begin a more aggressive savings for that house or for that rental property with your increase in income. So these are the 23 limits, and Dr. Hill will talk more about these next week, about how do you use them. But imagine some people are putting $66,000 away every year and shielding that as income. So if you made $166,000, $266,000, $366,000, that the IRS is only taxing you on the $200 because you've sheltered that $66,000. Simple IRA, the max next year will be $15,500. Traditional 401k will be $22,500. And if you're over the age of 50, of $7,500 catch up because you're closer to retirement age. Safe harbor 401ks, solo 401ks, those also are there. And the thing to remember is if you have a Roth option in your 401k, you can contribute that $22,000 all in a Roth. So if all of your money is growing tax-free, when you take it out, all of it will be tax-free. But what your employer matches, if they match, will be taxable. And there's legislation to look at whether that could be changed.
We have two from Gary Hill.
Yes.
First is just a statement, inheritance tax can take a big hit. Work with your financial advisor to keep it at an absolute minimum. New Jersey inheritance tax is 15%. And he also stated that you can give $15,000 to anyone to reduce your tax liability of your estate, even to a friend.
Right. Excellent point. Thank you, Gary. So when you think about gifting, I like the donor advised funds because you can say, okay, the work of Delta, the work of, whatever organization you represent can get an annual gift from me and it's tax deductible. And that's how we build sustainable income in the causes that we hold dear. And we can talk through that as well. But the gifting, the $15,000 that he mentioned, is a strategy that when you have assets that you want to gift and you do that to reduce your assets, so you're changing your tax situation, you can gift to your grandchildren, you can gift to your son-in-law. It doesn't have to be a bloodline. It can be any individual that you choose, and that will help you do some planning. The main thing I want to stop, and we have just a few minutes, what I see as the largest risk is depleting assets because of long-term care. So we have a number of assisted living facilities, nursing home cares right in our area. Trenton, Hamilton, Ewing, Hopewell, Penn, they're all over. 55 plus communities, I think, are building faster than other regular single family homes. So we know long-term care can be a challenge, but we need to have a plan. So when we sit down with clients that may have different health situations, we need them to think about self-insuring, saving in an investment account to cover their own long-term care expenses. But what if your children don't live next to you? What if you don't have children? What is your plan? We all will get old one day. I pray that I will see the age of 100 or so, and I know I won't be as mobile as now, but what is my plan? And that's what we have to ask ourselves and ask our parents, because I see a lot of families under stress because one person can support financially, the other has time, but they're a conflict because no one wants to take this next step. So talk about it before it happens. And memory, cognitive issues and memory loss are very, very common. Insurance is the last piece. And I always stop there because it's very cultural how individuals use insurance. Some clients who don't have Roth 401ks but want tax-free income, we use life insurance policies to generate that. Some people who want to give money to their children tax-free when they pass use life insurance. But some communities do not like life insurance, so they build wealth in other ways. but we have to move beyond not having a plan for final expenses. Small policies are very, very inexpensive, but we can't have a situation where we're having fundraisers to build funds to bury our loved ones. We can act now and do something now. Okay. So this is a survey. I think I gave it to Sarah Nicole. So if you can put that in the chat for me, that would be great. And one favor, we have how many? 44. This is a great turnout. Thank you guys. Can you all go to our website, masterplaninvestmentgroup.com, or Google us and give us a 5-star rating. I don't want a 4, 5-star, but we are working on a campaign to really grow and expand the legacy and the work that we do. And we built in ways to serve clients that are just starting off. So really affordable ways to just get financial knowledge. Check my 401k allocation, please. How am I supposed to allocate this and save for college at the same time? But just some basic planning that we all need to do. And I'd love to talk to you about that more. And that's on the survey as well. Any other questions?
Yes, there was one more question. Annette Taylor would like to know, please explain long-term care and how to access in detail. And she said
Okay.
in detail, but we don't have detail time. But
I know. So yeah, long-term care is just like an insurance policy. I might jump in back. Like an insurance policy. And what will happen is there's 2 types. You can either have it pay the cost first, or you pay and it reimburses you. One's called indemnity and then, non-indemnity. But we can sit down and schedule some time to talk about that. And there's some that is joint. So husband and wife can help and borrow each other's benefits. There's some that are life insurance connected with long-term care. So there's a lot of options and they're much more affordable than they used to be. Is that it?
Yes.
I don't see any more questions.
Thank you. And again, we're right in Pennington. It's always a pleasure to share with my community, and those that have mentors or mentees that you work with, ask them to consider finance as an option. And retirement plan management, companies with 401ks, that's really how we can spread the word and have more equity around financial knowledge. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Sora Bullock, for this informative presentation. It really put a lot of things in perspective for me as I'm preparing for retirement in the next couple of years. To ensure that the chapter is meeting the targets and needs of our community, we welcome your feedback. Please use the link in the chat. Sora Bullock has also provided us with an evaluation, and that will be in the chat also. Sora Hazel.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for that wonderful presentation. So much awesome information. And I do encourage everyone to work with a financial advisor or planner such as yourself, because it is a lot of information to take in. With that said, we, as a chapter, have several upcoming events, and we want to encourage everyone to attend if possible. The Get Your House in Order series will continue next week with Tax and You preparing for 2022 and beyond. Gary Keel, Money Management Associates, will be on to share with us, and get the details that you need for 2022 and for next year. We will then have a Wills and Estates session in January. In March, the big elephant in the room, funeral planning and life insurance. And then in May, home ownership 101. So we are really excited about tackling all of these very important topics that help us all to develop and build generational wealth and just help us live comfortably from here on out. So thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Georgette Bowman. I'm president of Trenton Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I would like to thank you all for attending this evening. I also would like to thank Nicole Carmichael, who serves as the chair of our Economic Development Committee, along with Sora Janelle Hazel, who is the co-chair. Thank you. Also would like to acknowledge and thank our technology team for all their assistance this evening. So again, we look forward to you joining us for the rest of the speaker series, because as you see, we certainly have a lot of information to share with you. And thank you, Sora Kanita Bullock. You did an excellent job. We always learn so much when you do a presentation for us. So we hope you join us next week. And please complete the evaluations. That information is very important to us. Again, thank you, and I hope that all have a good evening.